In this video, we're going to do some TA technical analysis on the 11th sector in the S&P 500. So let's take a look at the S&P ETF, the SPY first, before we go and start looking at the individual sector. As you can see on the SPY last week, it hit a new all-time high. And also it is coming up to this upper trend line here. You could say that there is a little bit of a channel. So right now, we're basically looking for a possible pullback because upper edge of this channel, and it's also an all-time high. So if it's going to pull back, the first level that we're going to look for is this somewhere around the 770 area to see would it get a potential bounce back up, and maybe it will make another new all-time high and continue to trend up on this upper trend line. But the other thing that we'll be looking for is basically coming down to this gap fill, and if it breaks this gap fill, not necessarily next week, then we're basically looking for a retracement back down at this level here, maybe at these lower trend line. Then we look for a swing back up. Now let's go and take a look at the sector. Start with the XLRE, the technology sector. And before I proceed, let me explain to you what I have on the chart and what I use to establish all these potential resistance and support zone. And also, in addition, if you want to learn a little bit more how I do it, I do have a video, and I will have the link in the description below. And basically, I'm using the volume profile and look at all these low volume nodes to identify potential support and resistance zone. And these trend line is basically what I call inflection point, to identify inflection point for the price to react. And it's not necessarily a support or resistance area, it's just a level or a point of the price where there is a potential price reaction of either breaking through or bouncing back up. Then we look for the potential support and resistance zone for potential target level or for trade entry. So in this case, looking at the XLRE, see the XLRE, it broke through this little bit of a channel. We could call this a channel, or you could call this a flag here. This is the flagpole. So we're basically looking at this channel here, and it broke through last week and coming up to this level here, somewhere around this 192, 193 area. So basically looking for this thing to see would it be able to break through, do a break and retest, and then push up into a new all-time high. So if you're holding long, then you're in a good position to basically monitor for further upside. But if it come back into this channel, then we're basically looking for the potential to come back down and fill this gap here somewhere around this 180, and eventually maybe work down all the way back down to this lower channel here, somewhere around the 160 area. Then we look for another possibility of bouncing back up to this upper channel. So that's basically what we are looking at right now, is to see would we see a continuation break and retest to a new all-time high and come back into the channel and come down for this gap fill near the 180. And for the XLV, the health sector, we see that it also came up to this trend line here, and it's hitting a potential resistance up here, and it is in confluence with this zone. And it's pretty, basically it's a high here. So right now it's pulling back into this low volume zone, and we're basically looking for potential support here and possibly maybe bounce back up into another high. But if it comes down and break this support, then we're basically looking for the possibility of coming back down to this 161 area and see where it finds support. So basically looking for a little bit of a bounce. Here's a high volume area. So if it breaks this 161, then we could look for a price to chop down to this lower trend line here, and that would bring it back down to somewhere around this 152, 150 area on the healthcare, the XLV. And here for the consumer discretionary, we see that it also came up close to this trend line here and pulling back a bit. Right now, sitting at this high volume area. So we're going to see would it be able to get another bounce back up here to this resistance or this trend line here, and see would it be able to break through and move up to a high. But if it is unable to do that, then we're basically looking for this thing to come down and fill this gap here, the discretionary, come down to this 114 area and see if we get a little bit of a bounce and then come back down. Basically, we're looking for the price to come back down to the lower trend line, then look for a bounce for a little bit of a swing long back up. All right, so that's basically what we're looking at. But if it's going to break through this little bit of a, you could call this a wedge or a triangle or whatever you want to call it, this price pattern, if it break through and get above this 122, this resistance zone, then we'll look for break and retest, then we go long for a high, then we will be targeting this high up here somewhere around 125. And look at the financial. The financial is also coming up here to this upper trend line here. You could say this is a little bit of a channel. So we'll see what it be able to come up here to this 199. I mean this 59 area, and then see it get rejected back down to this 58, 57 resistance zone or support zone. So basically looking for that. If it come back down, then we're basically looking for the possibility of tagging the zone here, this 55. And again, if we are a swing long trader, we want to wait. We want to wait for the price to come down to some inflection point. Then we will look for possible price setup to go long. So right now, we do not want to go long here. But if we have a long position, then we're basically just going to just watch it and trail it up to see how high could it go. Now, if it breaks through this, then we're basically looking here. And maybe we might take a look at to go along here. Because once it get up to this point, the risk is on the upside, not on the downside, because we could get trapped going along here and then come back down into the channel. Because you look at how far it came up, so we need to see some sort of pullback, and then look for these pullback for trade opportunity. We do not want to chase it up here. And for the communication sector, we see that it also trying to come up to this trend line here. And we could get a little bit of rejection. So again, we're basically looking for this thing to come back down into this 104, 105 area. Here's the little support zone, and see where we get a bounce to play it back up to this 110 area here. But if you are looking for a long and playing breakout, wait until it break, come back and do a break and retest, and then we will target this high volume node here as the first potential target, and then decide up here as your ultimate target here at this 119 area. So wait until it break, do the retest, then we have some area to establish the stop loss, a reasonable stop loss. Because if you chase it here, you have nowhere to define a structural base type of a stop loss. If you do it down here, then the stop loss is really too wide to make it worthwhile for the all in all. And here in the industrial, it's also coming up near the top of this trend line here. So maybe we could see a little bit of a push up into this upper trend line. But again, it is at a level that you did not want to go and chase long. If you are in a long position, then basically just ride it as long as it could, or as high as it could go before it starts showing some sort of resistance. So right now, as a long or swing trader doesn't have a position on the XLRE, you basically want to wait until it pull back to some inflection point, and that would be somewhere around this trend line here. Then you look for trade location at these zone, right? These resistance and support zone for trade location to swing up or to swing down. Now this is consumer stable. This is interesting chart here. We have two potential resistance trend line here. One is coming up here, basically doing this little bit of a channel or partial channel here, right? And the other one is basically this little bit of a wedge or a triangle, and basically doing a little bit of a convergence on this formation here. Okay, so right now the price is sitting right in the middle, no matter which one you're looking at. So it is kind of tricky. And if you're long right now, just hold it and watch it to see how far it could go up, and or so where did it get stalled, and then you might start taking a look for potential taking profit. But right now, basically, it's just sitting right here at this 86.5 or so, near the 87. So if it come up and do a test of this support and then push up, you might be able to take a little bit long here and try to target this upper edge here. Basically this level here and this low volume area. Basically, we're looking at this possibility here as a potential target. Right? If you do a break and retest from this resistance zone here near the 86 and change. Now, if it come back down, let's say you come up and come down, then you basically wait until the price come down to this 84, this zone here or this trend line, then look for potential bounce and play at least back up to here and possibly get up to this high volume node here, right near the 88. Now the energy has been strong. This is an energy sector XLE. You can see that it broke this trend line here and broke this resistance zone here, and it's moving up toward a high. So if you're holding long on the energy, then I will continue to ride this up to see what it get up to the high and possibly break this high and into a new high. But right now, definitely, if you're not in a position, you do not want to chase long here on a swing basis, maybe on an intraday short-term type of trade, but definitely not on the swing. Now, if it pulls back, let's say it pulls back here, right, and then do a little bit of a check and, retest and push, then we might be able to take a swing long here and target this high. Okay, that might be one possibility, basically playing this breakout of this trend line, break and retest using this as your potential support, and also use that on the other side of this support as your stop loss. Now, if it come back in and break, get rejected down here, then we look for the energy to come down into this 53 area, then look for a bounce. Basically, we're looking for the price to come back down and possibly get into this, trend line here and get a bounce up, and then we will swing it back up here into this high volume area. Now, this is the XLRE, the real estate, and here is the chart here. You see the price book at this high here and came back in. Right, so right now it is trying to come up again. So if you are playing this breakout, you would have got trapped right now, and it could come back in, come back and break this again, and this time maybe it will go through after it shake these guys out right here, right? So that's another possibility. But right now we're basically looking for the possibility of coming back down and wait until it come back into this 42.50 area, this zone, and basically the lower boundary of this this price formation, get into this trend line here to look for a bounce on a swing. Because right now the only swing that you could look for is maybe a short, but right now we're focusing on long. We're not talking about short. So if you want to talk about short, you have to talk to yourself about the short. So that's basically what we're looking at on this XLRE. XLB, the material has also blocked this trend line here and got a false breakout and came back in. And right now it's sitting right at this low volume zone here, this 52, 54 area, and testing support. So I wouldn't be surprised that we're going to get rejected and pushed back down into this, trend line here, and see what it holds. And I'll be looking at the possibility of maybe getting a bounce back up into this 52.5 zone again. If it doesn't hold, then look for the test down here at this 50 level and see what we get a bounce back up into this 52.5. So those are the area to look for, a little bit of a swing long right near this trend line and see could we get a bounce back up, or right at this zone here and see could we bounce back up. Now if we break below this 50, then we basically are looking for the possibility to come down to this 47, and this would be the next area that we'll look for a swing up, swing long bounce. And here we're looking at the utility sector, here XLU. You see that it came down and found a little support here on this high volume zone after it broke this trend line here. Right now it seems to reclaim this trend line and try to get up, maybe up to this upper trend line here, which is also in confluence with this high volume node somewhere around 46.25 or so. So basically you could still look for potential swing long on the bounce of this, and targeting up here at this area, and put a stop somewhere below this trend line, and that would be one way to play for a swing long. Now again, this could come up and do a false breakout, a reclaim, basically a break and retest, and then come back down to this 41.50, and that would be the next area that I would be looking for a possible swing long. So those are the 11 sectors of the S&P 500. As you can see, there are a lot of them is getting close to the upper inflection point, or already showing a little bit of a pullback. So right now, it is not a time to chase those breakout. Wait for it break and retest if you want to play the new high or a breakout of the current trend. So most likely we'll see some sort of pullback in the short term. But let me know what you think in the comment below about these TA. Do you find it useful? Thank you for watching and good luck on your trading.